Okay, this video is going to be the demonstration for how to complete the Veggie head assignment on an iPad or a tablet using the Photoshop mobile app. So today I have a mouse connected to my iPad so that you can see my cursor. You are welcome to use your finger or use a iPad pencil or stylus, but for the sake of ease and showing you how I navigate, I'm going to have a mouse, so you might hear some clicking. In the module tool folder, you will see there's a topic 2 selection tool practice image for Veggie head folder. When you click on that, you will see 3 documents. You should be able to just click and hold or press and hold and save these images to your photos. I recommend downloading all 3 just so you have options for toppings. You're only going to use one of the first 2 as your base. And then this 3rd image is just extra toppings should you want it. You will not use everything, but you will use quite a bit of them. So once I have them downloaded, I'm going to come down to my dock and select my Photoshop app to open it, or wherever you have your Photoshop app stored is where you will open it. And instead of hitting create new, I'm going to import and open. And I'm going to open one of the photos that I am beginning with. So I'm going to start by opening the mango head. You'll see here there are some options. Once I kind of exhaust these options, I will open up another layer and show you how to do so. But before we begin, I just want to point out a little navigation of your workspace. On the left side is your toolbox. Today we are just going to be focusing on the top 3 tools. So the move tool, transform, and then the selection tools. On the right side, you have another menu option. You have another menu option for your layers, amongst other things. Today, we're going to be focusing on the top 2. And that is your 2 different layer view options. So there is one that's the compact view. So you'll notice the little window pops up on the right. And then you have a more extended view where you can see the layers kind of spelled out. For now, we are going to start by selecting an object to begin building our mango head. So this is going to be my base. Looking over here, I think I'm going to choose the avocado to start building my face and make eyes. So I'm going to do that by coming to the 3rd tool down. That is the selection tools. Currently in the school building, so that is a bell. Under the selection tools, I'm going to start by showing you the tools that you're most likely not going to use, but they're going to be good for future projects, so they're worth going over now. The first one is the lasso. The lasso is like a cowboy rope or cowboy lasso. I'm going to click and drag, or you might use a finger to just press and drag, and it's going to select, you'll see these marching ants is what we call them, the moving dotted line. It'll select an area, but it lacks accuracy. It's going to follow the path that you tell it, and it's not going to accurately select a single object. Going back to the selection tools, just by pressing or clicking and holding, this menu pops up. The marquee tools, also you'll see a rectangle and an ellipse or a circle. If I choose the marquee tool, I can click and drag a square or a circle, but again, it lacks the accuracy of selecting just an object itself. These tools will have a time and place in later projects, but for this one, it's not it. And the last one you're probably not going to use for this project is the magic wand. The magic wand, if I click on the background of this potato, does a really good job at selecting like pixels or like colors. So it's going to do a good job selecting the background, but then watch when I try to select the potato, it's going to just get like colors and it's not going to select the whole thing. So this is really good for selecting something that is a solid color, not for objects like this. Now onto the ones that we probably will use. If we start on object selection starts off looking like the marquee tool. So I'll click and drag a selection or touch and drag. But as you can see, that square automatically, the computer finds the edge of the object and snaps to it. So that is going to give it a very accurate edge line with the marching ants. At this point, I could just take the mouse and click and drag and move this over. The problem with this is, if I open up my layers, I notice I did not create a new layer, which means this object will officially be stuck on the mango head and not be able to move after. So instead, I'm going to come down to my little options at the bottom of this screen, and these are my options for the selection I have. And I'm going to click these 3 little dots, and I'm going to hit duplicate selection. And you'll notice in my layers, another object just popped up. So now I can use my move tool and I can move this into place. And that duplicated my selection. Now that I have my selection, what I want to do is I want to move it onto the mango head to start building my face. You'll notice if I just take the mouse cursor and click and drag this over, that it doesn't create a new layer. The problem with that is that this is going to officially stick to the mango head, and I cannot move it later. It's going to be stuck. And then to try to move it, I'll get a hole like this on my face. So instead of moving it that way, I'm going to come up here and click undo. I'm going to come over to this menu on the right side, and I'm going to find these 3 little dots and click on this. And here I have more options. So I can cut and I can paste, and I can do it that way, and then I'll create another layer. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, instead of cutting, I'm just going to copy my selection. And I'm going to click on those 3 dots again and hit paste. And now I have a new layer, so I can use the arrow cursor tool to move it. And then I can come back over here and hit paste again and get another avocado. And now I have 2 eyes, but they're on separate layers, so I can select those layers and move them into place. Now with the layer I just pasted, now what I want to do is I want to rotate this so it's the same orientation as this one. So I'm going to come over to transform, which is the second tool in your toolbox. And what I'm going to do here I can scale it and change the size. We'll do that for the next object. But right now I just want to flip it. So if you look at the top control bar, you'll see these 2 triangles with dotted lines. I'm going to click this vertical flip tool because what that's going to do is just flip my avocado in place to completely match the orientation of the first eye. And then I'm going to click done. Now to add more objects to this, I'm going to have to go back to my bottom layer because that's where all the images exist, and I have to copy things from here. So I'm going to come back to my selection tools, and we're going to try another tool we haven't tried yet. We did object selection. Now I'm going to do quick selection. So quick selection is going to allow me to just click on an object, and again, it's pretty smart, so it's going to find the edge of that object. And then I'm going to go back over to my menu over here, the 3 dots, and I'm going to copy my selection, click it again, and paste. Use my move tool and move that into place. At this point, I want to rotate this and change the size. I'm going to use the transform tool again. And for this one, in order to change the size, I'm going to click and drag on these white circles that pop up around it. So I'll make it just a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to use this top circle that comes out on this lever. And then when I click and drag that, I can rotate and get this into place. I'm going to hit done, use my cursor or my move tool and move that into place. The next thing I'm going to select is this little mint leaf here. I'm going to go ahead and back to the object selection because that'll just find the edge for me. Now, important to note, if I tried to select that on any other layer, it wouldn't work because that doesn't exist on any layer but this bottom one. So once I have it selected, I'm going to go ahead and copy my selection and paste it. And the reason we keep creating new layers and why this part is important is that if I want to go back now and change the location of something, they're all their own freestanding layer. If I didn't copy and paste them, they would be stuck on that bottom image. All right, now what I want to do is I want to add another layer into my layer box, and I want to do that with another image. So I'm going to click in my layer menu here. I'm going to click this plus sign, and I'm going to add a new layer from my photos. So this time I'm going to pick up this image that has all the other options. And I can go ahead and I can make this a little bit bigger so I can see it. I'm going to move it over. I'm going to hit done. And now this is another layer. So another thing that we can do on this, if I click on the second layer option, I can choose to make something visible or invisible by clicking the eyeballs listed here beside it. So if that gets in the way and I want something underneath it, I'll just make it invisible and then come back and bring it back up. Now that I am on this layer, I'm going to use my object selection tool, and I am going to select this banana for the mouth. Again, I'm going to copy and paste it. I'm going to use my arrow tool to move it, and then click on my transform tool. First thing I'll do is rotate, and then I will free transform. Sometimes it's a little difficult to grab that. There we go. I'm gonna hit done. Use my arrow tool to move that into place. The last thing I want is some ears on my veggie head. So looking at what we have here, I think I might use this lettuce. So I'm gonna go back to the layer that exists on, which is this image with all the different veggies and fruits. I'll stick on my object selection, and I'm going to select, copy, and paste. I'm gonna come over here and I'm going to turn this off. I can also do that on the menu. I don't have to go to the extended option if I didn't want to for that. That's just another way to turn it off. I'm going to grab, whoops, gotta select that layer, use the arrow tool to move it, and then use my transform tool. I'm gonna leave that there. And then all I should have to do is go ahead and paste that again, since it was the last thing that I copied. Oops. I'm gonna be on my move tool to move that. I was moving my whole canvas. And then again, transform and rotate. And I'm gonna go ahead and flip this. So that transform option, again, up at the top, I'm gonna flip it so it's the same orientation. Just bring that down. All right, I'm pretty satisfied with my veggie head. I could add more, and I encourage you to do so, but for the sake of time, I think we are going to go ahead and be done with this. We are going to crop this. So I'm gonna find that crop tool in my toolbox and just slide this over so it's just the veggie head alone. Hit done. And then at the top, I wanna double click on the title of my image, and then I can rename this. So I'm gonna call it Veggie Head Finished. I'm going to rename it. And then I should be able to find that in my photos, and I will add it to my Module 2 art journal on the corresponding assignment page.